This simple spreadsheet demonstrates the effect that tariff taxes have on spendable income. The spreadsheet takes a very simplistic approach to the issue. There were some assumptions made in building the spreadsheet. They involve what was the annual income of someone paying tariff taxes, what was their status, that is to say, are they self-employed or are they salaried, and what is their filing status. For this example, we're going to assume the person makes $100,000 a year. They're self-employed so that their FICA taxes at Social Security and Medicare are at 15.3%, and their filing status is one dependent standard exemption, so they pay no tax at all on the first $16,000 of income. If they make $100,000 a year, that means their taxable income when filing is about $84,000. In order to figure the taxes due on a net taxable income of $84,000, we had to look at the tax rates for federal tax. Generally, on the first $11,600 of taxable income, you pay 10%, or $1,160. On the amount of money, taxable income, between $11,601 and $47,150, which is a block of $35,549, you pay 12% tax on that money, or another $42.66. For income above $47,151, taxable income all the way up to $100,525, you'll pay 22%. In our example, because there's only $84,000 of taxable income, the tax due on that block of $36,849 was $8,107. Accordingly, total income taxes due on $84,000 of taxable income is $13,533. Looked at another way, if you look at this tax on a $100,000 income, the blended tax rate is 13.53%. When it comes to figuring out the effect of tariff taxes, we have two things we have to consider. One is how much stuff, percentage-wise, of our spendable income do we actually pay on items that are subject to tariffs. The second item is on the objects that were subject to tariffs, what was the tax rate on those items? To begin, we're going to assume that we didn't buy any items associated with tariffs, and the tariff rate is also zero. Accordingly, our $100,000 income would be reduced by $15,300 to cover the FICA taxes. Income taxes, as previously discussed, would be $13,533, giving us a net after-tax disposable income of $71,167. We didn't buy any tariff goods, we didn't pay any tariff taxes, so we still have, after tariff taxes, which were zero, $71,167 of disposable income. Now, this situation changes dramatically if we start adding in some tariff tax on items bought by tariffs. Let's assume, for instance, that we're going to be buying items subject to an average tariff tax of 10%, and we might spend, let's say, 20% of our disposable income, in this case, $71,000 and change. We'll spend 20% of that on tariffable items. Accordingly, that means that we buy 14,233 tariff goods a year, so we have to pay at 10% $1,423 in tariff taxes. Not a lot of money, but still, it's a lot more than zero, giving us only $55,511 to spend after we clear the tariff items out. Now, if we jump to higher tariff rates, let's say 50%, we'll hold the same 20%, our tariff taxes go way up to $7,000 and change, and our net spendable after tariff items is less than $50,000. The real kicker comes when we look at the effect of the current Trump tariff of 145% on Chinese goods. We plug in 145%. Again, we assume that we spend 20% of our gross on tariff items. Notice that we're now paying an additional $20,000 and change in tariff taxes, leaving us only $36,000 and change to spend on other things that aren't subject to tariffs. Now, I'm going to sum this up by saying that Social Security and Medicare, or FICA, are a form of taxes and they're paid to the government. Income taxes are also paid to the government. And tariff taxes are taxes that are paid to the government. To sum all those up, I'm going to look over here on this part of the spreadsheet where I've summarized the amount of money in all these categories paid by the 10 people that are represented in this spreadsheet. We're only interested in one. So what I'm going to look at is this value here, money to the government. It shows $494,000 in change. We can divide that by 10 and we can quickly conclude that approximately half of our gross income is going to be sent to the government in the form of taxes. And if I select this, I can take a look at the numbers that these come from. That is to say, taxes are derived from FICA taxes, income taxes, and the tariff taxes.